is on you. That's what he's trying to show us in all of these different things, because as he begins to put the ability for you to use your gift in front of you, this is okay. Your choice. Now, the only promise that I can give you is based upon which way you decide to manage it. If you manage it in the way that you're supposed to manage it, I'm going to produce abundantly for you. If you begin to manage it in a way that I don't want you managing that, and I've told you that that way is a way of death, then guess what you're going to get? You're going to get deathly results. But the managing part, he's saying that's your choice. That's up to you. And I want to show you an instance to where he's actually laying this out, because his promise is made on the action that we choose to take. Like I said, he said, I set before you death and life. I'm not just setting one in front of you, I'm setting both in front of you. Once I set both in front of you, I'm going to tell you the answer, the best answer is to choose life. But here's the deal. Since I put death in front of you, that's your choice too. Since I put both of them in front of you, that's your choice. Now, we try to ask God, show us which one to choose. And he said, no, you choose. It's up to you. Now, I've told you what both of them will do, but it's up to you on which one you choose. Don't choose death and then get mad at me, because I told you to choose life initially, but I backed off to still let you choose. And that's what you got to begin to understand, because that management of that part, it's all yours. You can go pray now until the cows come home, Lord, which one? When you get to the point where you're mature enough to choose, he's not choosing for you. Period. Watch. Go to 1 Kings 18. 1 Kings 18. Because what he's looking for out of you is for you to grow to a point to where you know what he likes, you know what he desires, and then you choose to go that way. You choose to go that way. Because here's the deal. If he chooses, and then you go and you start not liking the path, guess who you're going to start to blame? He says, and I'm not fixing to let you blame me. Not after you've matured enough. He said, now when you're still a child and I'm telling you what to do, then you're just going to have to be mad. You just going to have to be upset. You can be upset with me all you want to. I'm still guiding you during this time. But when you get to this point, I'm going to give you a choice. And it's whatever you choose. In 1 Kings 18, verses 17 through 21, it says this. 1 Kings 18, verses 17 through 21 says this. It says, and it came to pass when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said unto him, art thou he that troubleth Israel? And he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but thou and thy father's house, in that you have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and thou hast followed Balaam. Alright? So notice, once again, who's Ahab trying to blame for the trouble that's on Israel? He's trying to blame that on Elijah. He's trying to say, you prophesying bad stuff over us. He said, no. Y'all's actions have now released God's judgment on you, and you and your fathers following these footsteps have now brought God's judgment. I just had to speak it into existence. Your actions brought about the results. All I had to do was agree with what the results were going to be, and that's what has began to happen. Now watch. In verse 19 it says, now therefore send and gather to me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves 400, which eat at Jezebel's table. Now understand, this is Israel and representatives of Baal. Notice the question. Remember what Ahab says. Art thou he that troubleth Israel? God's chosen people. The apple of God's eye. The ones that God picked that said, I want you to represent me. He's saying they got trouble. Just like you got trouble in certain places, certain areas, that things just aren't right. And you can't put that trouble on anybody else but you. That's what he's trying to show him. That's what Elijah's showing Ahab. He's saying, I want you to bring Israel. I want you to bring Baal's prophets. I want you to bring all of the ones who show different representation, and I want to ask all of them one question. Look at what this question ends up being. Because it goes on and says, so Ahab sent unto all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together unto Mount Carmel, and Elijah came unto all the people and said, what's the question? How long are you going to go back and forth between two opinions? He said, just pick. Just pick. Which way you going to go? Whose way you going to take? Because he then shows the distinction between the two. He says, if the Lord, that's if. If the Lord be who? God. God, to follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. What's the last part of that say? And the people answered him not a word. Now, why is that so crucial? Why does that make that much of a difference? Because I need you to understand something. You're calling something God in the place where things are messed up right now. You're calling something God. Now, it's not producing the results that you want, but it's still God for you right now. Because that's who you're following. That's what you're following, and you're following those ways, and it keeps ending up smacking you in the face, and you're wondering, God, why are you doing this to me? He said, because I ain't God to you. You keep picking the other way. Long as you keep picking the other way, this is what's going to keep happening. And this is what Elijah is painting the clear picture as he's saying, if the Lord, notice that should be capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D in your Bible. That's the self-existent, the eternal. That means everywhere present, nowhere absent. If that is who you see as God, then follow him. Follow him. He says, but if it's not, if it's Baal, then follow them. He said, just pick. But don't go following Baal and then scream at the self-existent and eternal. He said, because this ain't gonna work. He said, your actions don't match. And since your actions don't match, you have no option but to keep getting these results. He says, so watch. Look in verse 21. All the people, and the people answered him not a word. Now watch this, because this is crucial. Look down at verse 24. Because what happens is there ends up becoming a standoff. Just like it is for you. Right there in that bad place, wherever that bad place is. This is a standoff. Today is the day of your standoff. That's what this is all about. That's what everything is set up for. Is he's saying, if I'm God, follow me. He said, if I'm not, follow the other one. Doesn't matter. Take your pick. He says, I will respect you more for following the other one. I'd rather you be hot or cold. But if you try to keep being lukewarm, I'm going to spew you out. Now I'm telling you, pick. Period. That's what you got to do. Pick. Because if you don't pick, then you are hindering your own promise. You're hindering your own promise. He's given you a gift and an ability that nobody else has like you. But you won't choose to follow him. And since you won't choose to follow him, you keep hindering the gift, and it makes him look like a bad gift giver. It makes him look like, oh, he don't even take care of his kids. He set them up, and they're not even